Hello everyone. Have you ever thought about where your city's garbage actually goes after the truck drives away? Today we are going to explore the complete system of comprehensive solid waste management and disposal that keeps our cities functioning and healthy. Let us begin by understanding the blueprint of solid waste management, which works in three phases. Phase 1 is inputs or generation, which comes from domestic, street, market, stable, and industrial sources. A key stat to remember here is that generation varies from 0.25 to 2.5 kilograms per capita daily. Phase 2 is the life cycle or process, which includes sorting, storage, collection, and transportation. Phase 3 is outputs, which covers disposal and recovery, including land disposal through controlled tipping, thermal treatment through incineration, and biological recovery through composting, effective microorganism technology, and vermicomposting. Now let us look closely at the anatomy of refuse itself, which is divided into three streams. Stream 1 is garbage, which consists of putrescible food, vegetable peelings, and animal waste. This ferments rapidly and emits foul odor requiring urgent removal. Stream 2 is rubbish, which consists of dry materials like paper, bits of wood, glass, metal, dirt, and throwaway containers. Stream 3 is ash, which is the powdery residue and cinders from combustion of wood and coal used in cooking and heating. There is also a growing plastic problem since polymeric materials are poorly biodegradable, emit toxic gases when burned, especially chlorinated types, and physically choke municipal sewer lines. Let us map out the sources of urban waste across 5 key nodes. Node 1 is domestic, coming from houses and apartments, generating ash, rubbish, and garbage. Node 2 is street, generated by street cleansing, consisting of leaves, straw, paper, and litter. Node 3 is market, coming from fish, meat, and vegetable markets, producing highly putrid organic and animal matter. Node 4 is stable, referring to animal enclosures, comprising animal droppings and leftover feeds that require sanitary management to prevent fly breeding. Node 5 is industrial, coming from factories and retail, with a wide variance ranging from completely inert calcium carbonate to highly toxic and explosive compounds. When this system fails, the cost is severe, and it falls into two categories. On the public health side, we see vector breeding, where decomposing waste acts as an incubator for flies, rodents, and vermin. This leads to disease transmission, where pathogens are conveyed back to human food supplies through flies, dust, and stray animals. On the environmental side, we see water contamination, where leachate generated by dumps deeply pollutes both groundwater aquifers and surface water runoff. We also see atmospheric pollution, where unmanaged breakdown generates explosive methane and greenhouse gases, and burning emits malodorous fumes. There are also secondary menaces, including severe aesthetic degradation, foul odors, and bird flocks that can even endanger aircraft flight paths. Let us now walk through the management life cycle in detail. It begins with generation and sorting, where segregation happens at the source and dry recyclables are salvaged by households, then rag pickers and middlemen at municipal bins. Next comes storage, using galvanized steel bins with close fitting covers, sized at 1.5 to 2 cubic feet for a family of 5, with collection once every 3 days. Then comes primary collection, where house to house collection is considered the gold standard, replacing indiscriminate street dumping, using hand carts of 30 to 40 liter capacity to move waste to central points. This leads to secondary storage at depots, which use concrete or asphalt flooring with large metal containers to prevent vector access while awaiting transport. Finally comes transportation, where 19th century open carts must be abandoned in favor of mechanized, totally enclosed vehicles such as dustless refuse collectors. Let us compare the traditional disposal methods available to us. Open dumping involves disposing loose refuse in low-lying areas, but its environmental impact is severe, causing wind dispersal, fires, leachate, and vector breeding. This method was condemned by the World Health Organization in 1967 as a severe public health hazard that must be outlawed. Controlled tipping, also known as sanitary landfill, involves depositing waste in trenches or depressions, compacting it and sealing it daily with earth. Its environmental impact is minimal since it prevents flies, odors, and fires while reclaiming land, making it the most satisfactory practical method where suitable land is available. Incineration involves the thermal destruction of waste, requiring air pollution controls, and while it destroys usable manure, it is ideal for hospital and hazardous waste, though it has limited municipal application in India due to high ash content and the need for expensive pre-sorting. Controlled tipping is essentially a scientific and systematic way of burying waste safely in the ground, unlike open dumping, which is careless and hazardous. The process begins with digging a trench that is 2 to 3 meters deep and 4 to 12 meters wide. Waste is deposited into this trench and compacted layer by layer, and the fill is built up to a depth of up to 2.5 meters. As the waste sits inside this trench, natural bacterial and biological activity begins to generate heat. Within just 7 days, the internal temperature of this compacted waste rises above 60 degrees Celsius. This intense heat is extremely important because it effectively kills all the pathogens present in the waste, making the mass biologically safe. Over a period of 4 to 6 months, this compacted waste gradually converts into an innocuous, stable mass, which means it becomes harmless and can be used for land reclamation purposes such as parks, playgrounds, or other construction. Every single working day, the top surface of the trench must be sealed with a thick cover of mud or earth, specifically 30 centimeters or about 12 inches thick. This daily seal is absolutely critical because it suppresses flies from breeding, prevents dust from spreading, and stops odors and vectors from escaping into the surrounding environment. In terms of planning and land use, municipalities need to account for a land requirement of about 1 acre of flat land for every 10,000 people, calculated per year, assuming a fill depth of 2 meters. This means controlled tipping requires careful advance planning since suitable flat land must be identified and reserved well ahead of time. Compared to open dumping, controlled tipping has minimal environmental impact since it prevents flies, controls odors, avoids fires, and simultaneously helps reclaim usable land for the community. This is exactly why controlled tipping, also known as sanitary landfill, is considered the most satisfactory and practical method of waste disposal in situations where suitable land is available. Now, let us take a deeper look at biological recovery through municipal composting, which is a natural and sustainable way of converting organic waste into useful manure instead of simply burying or burning it. There are two main approaches used in municipal composting, and the first one is called the Bangalore method. The Bangalore method is an anaerobic process, which means it works without oxygen, and it relies on hot fermentation to break down waste. In this method, waste is arranged inside a pit in a very specific layered structure. At the very bottom, there is a layer of 15 centimeters of refuse. Above that, a thin layer of 5 centimeters of night soil is added. These two layers are then repeated in an alternating pattern, building up the pit gradually with refuse and night soil layers stacked one on top of another. At the very top, there is a final layer of 25 centimeters of refuse, and the entire pit is then sealed with a layer of earth cover. Once sealed, natural bacterial action begins inside the pit, and this generates heat above 60 degrees Celsius, which continues for a period of 2 to 3 weeks. This intense heat is what breaks down the organic matter effectively and safely. Over a period of 4 to 6 months, this process yields high value odorless manure which can then be used for agricultural purposes. Now let us look at the second approach, which is mechanical composting. Unlike the Bangalore method, mechanical composting is an aerobic process, meaning it requires oxygen throughout the breakdown process, and it follows a more industrial, systematic approach. The process begins with sorting, where glass, metal, and other non biodegradable materials are carefully removed from the waste stream. After sorting, the waste passes through a pulverizer, which mechanically reduces the size of the waste particles to under 2 inches, making the material more uniform and easier to process. The pulverized waste is then mixed with sludge or night soil, which helps introduce the necessary microorganisms and nutrients needed for decomposition. Finally, this mixture goes through a rotating incubation process where it is continuously turned and aerated. Throughout this entire mechanical process, several key factors are closely controlled, including the carbon to nitrogen ratio, temperature, pH level, and moisture content. Because of this precise control, mechanical composting is able to manufacture finished, usable compost much more rapidly, typically within just 4 to 6 weeks, which is significantly faster than the Bangalore method. Both of these methods, whether the traditional Bangalore method or the modern mechanical composting method, serve the same essential purpose, which is transforming what would otherwise be considered waste into a valuable resource, supporting soil health and agricultural productivity while also reducing the burden on landfills and disposal sites. There are also two advanced ecological technologies worth understanding. The first is vermicomposting, where kitchen or organic waste is sprinkled daily with water and deep burrowing worms break down the waste without generating explosive gases or leachate, producing rich biofertilizer for organic farming in just 2 to 3 months. The second is effective microorganism technology, which uses commercial biological solutions added directly to kitchen wastes in specially designed drums. This suppresses harmful bacteria and keeps municipal drains clean. There are two variants, EM1 with a 6-month shelf life and EM2 with a 30-day shelf life, both of which rapidly convert waste into manure. All of this activity is governed by regulatory guardrails set by the Ministry of Environment and Forests in India. The first pillar is the Environment Protection Act of 1986, which is the foundational environmental legislation protecting soil, air, and water from indiscriminate dumping. The second pillar is the Biomedical Waste Rules of 1998, which mandates strict segregation and specialized disposal, like incineration, for hazardous hospital waste. The third pillar is the Municipal Waste Rules of 1999, which lays out the specific operational frameworks holding municipal bodies accountable for collection, storage, and processing standards. To close the loop and look at the future of urban metabolism, there are four key priorities. First, source segregation is absolute, since without strict sorting of wet organics, dry recyclables, and toxic plastics, downstream mechanical and biological processing fails. Second, we must eradicate open dumping, with municipalities transitioning fully to engineered sanitary landfills through controlled tipping to protect groundwater and public health. Third, we must institutionalize the logistics, replacing fragmented open cart collection with mechanized enclosed fleets backed by strict adherence to national environmental legislation. Fourth, we must shift to resource recovery, recognizing that waste is simply a misplaced resource, and maximizing mechanical composting, vermicomposting, and effective microorganics technology to reclaim rich biofuels and manure. Together, these four priorities support a true circular economy for our cities. Hope you have understood about solid waste management. If you found this video useful, please watch and share with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.